I'm Lauren Peters, and this is a criminal negligence of the Pribilof Agent. This is a map of Alaska. In the middle of the Bering Sea are two small islands, St. Paul and St. George, called the Pribilofs. The Russians forced the Aleut hunters to these islands to harvest the fur seal. The islands are not meant to sustain human life. Therefore, most supplies had to be imported by ship. In 1867, America bought Alaska. The Aleuts were now under American rule. Because they were the only ones legally able to hunt the seal, the Americans set up a system overseen by a Treasury Department agent to see to the fur seal count and to the welfare of the Aleuts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, and so it is with the government agent. He fairly quickly creates his own kingdom. For example, all white housing had running water, heat, indoor plumbing, and electricity. The Aleuts had none of these comforts. In June 1942, the Japanese take the Aleutian chain of Attu, bomb Kiska, and Dutch Harbor. The Aleuts are in the way of the war. After much confusion, the western Aleutians, along with the Pribilofs, are evacuated. Unlike the Aleuts of the chain, who are free citizens with no overseer, the agents came with the Pribilof Islanders to Funter Bay in southeast Alaska. It wasn't until the 1980s, nearly 40 years after the evacuation, that this part of the war was written about. The internship of the Aleuts is well documented, and restitution has been paid to their descendants. Never implicated, however, were the men directly in charge of the Pribilof Island Aleuts. Who were these men? What legal control did they have over the Pribilof Island Aleuts? What racial norms at the time allowed the white overlord to house in a 4-room heated house with indoor plumbing, while the 477 Aleut people crowded into a dilapidated cannery, so crowded that they had to take turns sleeping? They had no running water. The toilet was over the beach high tide mark. They lived mostly on macaroni while the white men ate well. 10% of the Aleuts died. The person in charge of their well-being was deciding their fate from a warm Seattle office, Senior Agent Johnston. Two sources hold the answers to my questions. They are both in Anchorage and can't be removed. The first is the National Archives Box 370, the Pribilof Project, which houses all the agent's correspondence, journals, reports, and logs. The second source is from the Aleut Pribilof Islands Association, which holds the testimonies of evacuated internees. It is my hope to use these sources to prove the criminal negligence of the government agent. This is my elderly widowed grandmother looking back on St. Paul as she leaves on the ship the Delaroff for Funter Bay. Locating these two sources is the key to deciphering the guilt or innocence of the government agents who starved and neglected my grandmother and 880 other intern Aleuts during World War II. By the way, she survived.